So there was a question on my service desk where someone was asking me, what is the relationship between projects, boards, Kahneman boards, and workflows? So I was trying to answer that question, but I thought I'll probably record a video because I can talk about it and I can probably try to explain in a better way by probably giving you some examples. Now, first of all, in Jira, and by the way, this is of course relevant for people who are new to Jira and they're trying to understand Jira architecture, how things are organized within Jira. And this knowledge is important because this is the basis and this is basically the fundamental of a tool like Jira. Because when you know these things properly in the beginning, then you can start building your knowledge around projects and different configurations and schemes. And this particular question is interesting because this is not only important for someone who is a Jira user, but also for future Jira administrators. If you want to make your career in Jira administration, then these questions, you should ask these questions because it will help you in better understanding how Jira was built or is now designed to solve your problems. Now, what is a project? Now, project is nothing but a container of issues. Now, in Jira, issues are, the word itself, issue, may seem a bit negative, like something is wrong, there is an issue. But in Jira, issue is a generic name for any activity that you want to track. So issue could be a task, it could be a bug, it could be a story, or it could be an epic. Anything that you want to track, any activity is an issue. Issue can also be of a type which is subtask. So subtasks are, as you can probably guess, they are part of a parent. So you have issue, which is standard issue type, and then you have subtask. Now, within a project, you have issues of different types, and those different types is actually defined by you. It is up to you how you want to configure it. Maybe in one project you just want one issue type, but in another project you may want to have 5 issue types along with, let us say, 2 different subtasks. Now, when you start raising issues, when you start making a plan, for example, or when you start tracking your work, you will of course start creating issues of different types, and those issues are within a project. Now, each and every issue is given a unique identifier. Of course, for each and every issue, you can have different fields that you can capture, like summary, description, or some other fields like due date. And then you may want to track who is going to work on that particular issue, who is going to work on that particular task or a bug. So assignee, and the person who is creating the issue is usually the reporter, but you have creator and you also have reporter. And this is, of course, we are talking about within a project. And for each and every issue, as I mentioned, there is a unique key which is based on the project key. So let us say if you have a project called IT service management, so you can have a project key called ITSM. If you are tracking, so it is up to you. You can name whatever you want of your project, and you can have any key, of course. Keep it similar to your project name so it is easier for you to identify. So let us say if your project key is SD or SDA, whatever, or maybe Android if you are using this project for Android development. Each and every issue will get a unique identifier or a key which is Android-1, Android-2, and so on. So every time you create a new issue, this key will get a number which is always incremented. Now, this is of course your project and issues. I'll come to the boards. Let me first talk about the workflows. Now, when you create a new issue, you want to of course track it, and usually if you want to keep things simple, when you want to keep track of different stages or the life cycle of that particular issue, for example, when you raise a bug, maybe you want to assign it to someone, and that assignee will start the work, and then that person will resolve the issue or a bug. It is a simple life cycle, like open, in progress, and done. You can have a bit more complicated workflow than this, like open, in progress, and then maybe you want to put the issue on hold and then resolve. So the life cycle of the issue is defined by the workflow, and we'll not get into the details of the workflows in this video, because you can do a lot of things with the workflows, and workflows are really powerful in Jira. You can use workflows to basically map your own process, and you can do a lot of wonderful things. So there are things like workflow conditions and validators and post functions and triggers. So there are a lot of things that you can do, and workflows is one aspect of Jira that will help you in customizing it to a great extent based on, of course, your requirements. Now, talking about boards. Boards is another view on top of the project, and imagine board as a physical board, where if you're talking about agile development, you may want to track the work in a visual manner. Maybe you want to have 3 columns, like all the issues that are newly added to the sprint, or all the new activities that you plan to do will go to the to-do column, or maybe a column called selected for development if you're talking about development. Then as you and your team start the work, you will move the issues, or cards, I should say cards, from one column to another column, like in progress. And when the work is done, you can move it to the 3rd column, which is usually done. Of course, you can have a bit more than 3 columns, depending upon your workflow. Now, board is different from project, because boards, as I mentioned, is just another layer on top of a project, but not just one project. Board can be another layer on top of multiple projects. So the input to the board is usually a group of projects, or maybe your own custom filter. So filter in Jira is nothing but a search query that you can save. So let us say you want to work on issues from 3 different projects, but you don't really want to bother yourself and your team with the issues of a specific type, like maybe miscellaneous activities. You may want to only focus on stories and tasks and subtasks, for example, or maybe epics if you're talking about Scrum, or maybe you want to just focus on certain type of issues, and also you don't really want to include the issues that are already resolved. So you can define your filter, and that filter will return the issues that are relevant for you and your team to work, and then you can use that filter as an input to a board. And as I mentioned before, the input to the board, the source of issues could be one project, multiple projects, or any search criteria based on the filter, and that is your board. So whenever you are doing any work on the board, if that activity involves, which is usually the case, involves any updation to the issue, like when you move the issue from one column to another column, when you move the card from one column to another column, that movement of issue is nothing but a transition of your workflow, transition in your workflow, because in your workflow you have different states, and those states are linked to each other, and that linking, that arrow that goes from one status to another status is called as transition. So whenever you're making a transition, whether you're on the issue or maybe you are doing some movement of the cards from one column to another column, you are actually doing a workflow transition. So this question, what is the relationship between project, boards, and workflows? Although it may seem a very simple question, but if you get this right, then you will get the fundamentals of Jira. And thank you very much for asking this question, because sometimes we get too involved in the complexities of the tool that we forget about basic things. So I thought I'll probably explain you by making a video instead of just replying with few links to Atlassian documentation. So that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you also learned something new today. Thank you very much.